The first time my boyfriend accidentally called me by another woman's name, I laughed. The second time, I started to feel uneasy. But the third time he said it, I realized something that made my blood run cold. Because the name he kept calling me was my sister's. My name is Emily. And until last year, I thought my life was almost perfect. I had a stable job, a small apartment in the city, and a boyfriend named Daniel who I'd been dating for almost 3 years. Daniel was charming, attentive, and the kind of man who made everyone around him feel comfortable. My friends loved him. My parents adored him. Even my older sister Laura said he was probably the best boyfriend I had ever had. And honestly, I agreed. For the first 2 years of our relationship, everything felt easy. No major fights, no jealousy, no drama. Just 2 people building a future together. At least, that's what I believed. The first strange moment happened during dinner one night. Daniel and I were sitting in the kitchen talking about a movie we had just watched. He looked at me and said, "You know, Laura, you'd probably love that ending." I blinked. "Laura?" I asked. He froze for a second, then laughed. "Sorry, I meant Emily." We both brushed it off as a simple mistake. People mix up names all the time, especially when they've known your family for years. But a few weeks later, it happened again. This time, we were at a party with friends. Daniel put his arm around me and said, "Laura, come meet Jake. I think you two would get along." I slowly turned towards him. "Did you just call me Laura again?" He looked embarrassed. "Wow, I'm really tired tonight. Sorry." Everyone laughed. But something about the way he avoided eye contact bothered me. Still, I didn't push it. Not yet. Then one night, everything changed. Daniel was asleep next to me in bed. It was late. The room was completely dark. And suddenly, he started talking in his sleep. At first, it was just mumbling. But then I heard it clearly. "Laura, please don't tell Emily." My heart stopped. For a few seconds, I just lay there in silence. Maybe I misunderstood, I told myself. Maybe I was half asleep. But the words echoed in my head. "Please don't tell Emily." The next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I decided to do something I had never done before. I checked Daniel's phone. I didn't expect to find anything. But within seconds, I noticed something strange. There was a contact saved simply as L. No last name, just the letter L. Curiosity took over. I opened the messages, and my stomach dropped. The conversation wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirty. It was worse, because the messages looked familiar. Inside jokes, stories about childhood, old memories about family vacations. At first, I didn't understand, until I scrolled further up and saw a photo that made my hands start shaking. It was a picture of my sister, Laura, standing in front of Daniel's car. The caption read, "Remember when we used to skip school and drive to the lake?" I felt like the world tilted sideways. Skip school? Drive to the lake? Daniel and I hadn't even met until college, but Laura and I grew up in a completely different city. I kept scrolling. The messages went back years, long before Daniel and I started dating. And that's when I realized something impossible. Daniel didn't meet me first. He met my sister. When Laura came over that weekend for dinner, I tried to act normal. The 3 of us sat around the table like we always did. Talking, laughing, pretending everything was fine. But I couldn't stop watching them. Every glance, every reaction, every tiny moment between them. And then I saw it, just for a second. Laura looked at Daniel, and Daniel quickly looked away. The kind of look 2 people share when they have a secret. That night after she left, I confronted him. I put his phone on the table, opened the messages, and asked one simple question. How long have you been talking to my sister? Daniel stared at the screen, then slowly leaned back in his chair. For a long time, he didn't say anything. Finally, he sighed and said something I never expected. Since before I met you? I felt my chest tighten. What does that mean? He rubbed his face, then looked directly at me. Emily, I didn't meet Laura through you. We met years ago. Apparently, Daniel and Laura dated briefly in high school. They kept it secret because Laura knew our parents would never approve. Eventually, they broke up and lost contact. Or at least, that's what Laura told everyone. But according to Daniel, they never actually stopped talking. For years, they stayed in touch. Occasional messages or checking in on each other. Nothing serious until the day Daniel met me at a mutual friend's party, as he didn't realize I was Laura's sister at first. Not until we had already started dating. And by then, he said it felt too complicated to explain. So he stayed quiet. Laura agreed to keep it secret, and the two of them pretended they had never met before. For 3 years, they both lied to me. I felt sick. Not because they dated, but because they watched me fall in love while hiding the truth. But the worst part was what Daniel said next. Emily, the reason I sometimes call you Laura, he hesitated, is because when I first started dating you, it felt like I was dating her again. The room went silent. In that moment, I understood everything. The strange looks, the secret messages, the name slips. For 3 years, I wasn't just Daniel's girlfriend. I was a reminder of someone else. The next morning, I packed my things and left. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. Some betrayals are too complicated for anger. A week later, Laura called me. She told me Daniel had moved across the country. Apparently, their secret had destroyed whatever strange connection they still had. Now, I live in a different city, different job, different life. But sometimes I still remember the moment Daniel first called me Laura. And I wonder something strange. Did he ever really love me? Or was I just the closest thing he could find to someone else?